Today we're talking about the 100th monkey effect. Not sure what this is? Stick around and let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to the Wholeness Shift. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're already a part of the family, welcome back. I teach people about easy, practical spirituality and try to break down your spiritual awakening, the things that you want to know, in a way that's really easy to understand. If this interests you, stick around. Hit the subscribe button. I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything good. And you guys, it's that time of year for the annual sale on all coaching services. We did this last year and you guys loved it. So I lowered the prices again. All coaching services, no matter what kind you want, are only $99. And go over and check out some of the reviews and testimonials. You'll see that people find a lot of value in it. It's not a reading, it's just a coaching service. So if you would like to meet with me one-on-one for an hour, let me help you. Let me mentor you and help you identify blocks where you may not see them, or help you to teach you in areas where you have questions. Head over to the website. I will put a link down below. There's 2 different sets of calendars. Choose the one that you want. One is for email coaching and the other one is for either telephone or Zoom. The 100th monkey effect. Have you guys heard of this, or are you like, what the heck is that? In a nutshell, this is a social theory. It's a scientific social theory of an observable but unexplainable phenomenon where information and knowledge is rapidly transferred all over the world and nobody can figure out how. Back in the 1950s, there were a group of Japanese scientists. They were primatologists, and they were on this little island, and they were working with a group of monkeys. And they had introduced some food to them that they had never really had before, like certain kinds of potatoes, sweet potatoes, and various things. Well, on this island, their little food was getting covered in sand. And the monkeys there, this was not a normal issue that other places had faced, other monkeys had faced. This wasn't something that they had ever figured out before. But these monkeys figured out, a couple of them anyways, had figured out that you can wash the potatoes in a certain way to get the sand off of them and then eat them. And that little niche of monkeys that figured it out taught the other monkeys, they taught other monkeys, they taught the other monkeys, all on this little island. And they noticed that all of a sudden, once this critical mass or this tipping point of monkeys, around 100 monkeys, had learned this skill, that suddenly monkeys all around the world began doing the same thing where they had never done it before. And so this was actually repeatable, and they now call it the 100th monkey effect. So these scientists hypothesized that these monkeys all had a group collective that this knowledge was feeding into, and that once a critical mass had been reached, or a tipping point had been reached with so many monkeys, that the knowledge would quickly spread to all the monkeys in the world. This, of course, ties into the collective consciousness that I teach about all the time. As I talk about all the time, there is a collective consciousness for everything. For your town, for your city, for your family, for women, for feminism, for masculine men, for not masculine men, for world history, for bakers, for you name it, artists, children, parents who have lost a child. There is a collective consciousness for every topic that you can think of. And this includes a collective of what humans agree is truth or not truth. So these collectives exist for all of these topics, all of these niches, all of these groups. And every single thing that you think about that topic gets fed into that collective consciousness. And then everybody else who has tapped into the energy of that collective consciousness gets access to that energy and all of those thoughts. And this is important for a few reasons. My neighbor is doing something so loud outside with some kind of vacuum or something, so sorry if it's noisy. First of all, this has to do with manifestation and how we create our own realities. If you start seeing something happening and you start telling people about it, they're going to start seeing it too. You know, if you're like, I saw a Loch Ness monster in that lake. I saw it. I know I saw it. If you say that enough times, someone else is going to come up going, you know, I think I saw it too. And then someone else is going to be like, you know, my brother Ricky said he saw it too. And before you know it, everybody insists that there's a Loch Ness monster in that lake or pond or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whereas a week ago, nobody had ever even thought about that. Have you ever gone your whole life without hearing a specific word, and then all of a sudden you hear that word all over the place? It's like you've tapped into this collective and now it's like your reality. I had that happen recently and I can't remember what the word was, but it's a word I had never heard before. And all of a sudden I heard it like 3 times in a day. And that's because, you know, this energy of this thing has like fed into this collective energy that we're all drawing on, this part of the consciousness that we're all drawing on. And so all of these humans are starting to draw on the same idea. And this is why it's important for every single one of us to take accountability for our thoughts, for our words, for the things that we claim and the stories that we tell. We need to take accountability for what we individually claim as truth. This is why it's so important for us to try to have mostly positive thoughts. I mean, you can't always have positive thoughts. I mean, humanity exists on polarity. You have to have dark and light. You have to have those moments. You have to have a full emotional body. You can't deny those things. But you don't just want to stew in it and like live in that dark place either. It's important to have honest, pure thoughts, because we really are creating our own reality. Think of it like 2 big buckets in the sky. And one is for positive thoughts, one's for negative thoughts. One's for light, one's for dark, if you will. And every single time you think a thought, it goes in one of the buckets. And the same goes for all of the rest of humanity. And then whichever bucket gets heaviest the quickest, or once it reaches that critical mass or that tipping point, people all over the world take that on as their truth. They take that on as their reality. And the energy of that bucket is what's going to most easily manifest into this world. This is how U.S. politics can be so out of control lately. I mean, they have both sides of this spectrum, the right and the left, they have such vastly different belief systems and viewpoints. I mean, each side looks at the other side like they have 3 heads, and everybody is thinking about the other person like, have they lost their fucking minds? Have they lost their minds? How can they believe the things that they're believing? What is happening in this world? It's because each side is tapped into their own collective consciousness that has reached a critical mass with this group of people, and like it's just become their truth. Even if there's really no truth to it at all, like it's become truth to them because they're tapped into it, and they have tapped into a whole collective of people that are going, yep, that's the truth. Yep, that's the truth. Yep, I saw that Loch Ness monster in there. I know it's real. Or my brother's cousin's neighbor's girlfriend saw it in there, so it must be true. And the other side is going, are you out of your mind? And they're like, nope, that's real. It's real, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. But it's because so many people have, and I'm not pointing fingers at either side, but so many people have been irresponsible with their thoughts, and they're just dumping these crazy thoughts into this bucket in the sky. Do you know what I'm saying? So even if it's a 100% nonsense, that 100th monkey effect has taken effect. And it's all of a sudden become truth to a lot of people. And you don't have to apply this just to politics, obviously. This applies to every area of life. You know, if you're in a marriage or a relationship and you both start making horrible comments about it, like, this relationship sucks, or you're never supportive, or you're never here, or, well, you're never here, and this relationship does suck. That's going to become the collective consciousness of that relationship. You're both going to add so much to that negative bucket that becomes your reality. And you know what? There probably isn't any hope. Neither one of you are going to change. Neither one of you are going to make it better, because that's not the bucket you're drawing from. Okay, moving on. I hope that all made sense. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you understood that, if that made sense. Tell me your thoughts on it. Now, another reason that this is important, or another way that you can apply this, is that a question that I get often about pendulum use is, I was trying to get answers from my guide about some historical event. I don't think that event went down like people say it did. So I was trying to get to the truth of it, but my guide is telling me basically that it happened like they say it happened, and I'm not believing it. Why is my guide not telling me the real story? And the answer to that is everything that I just explained. Or maybe the guide wouldn't answer at all. And the reason for that is because, you know, guides, just because they aren't physical and they do know a lot, it doesn't mean they know everything. They aren't infallible. They aren't omnipotent. They have access to a whole lot of information, but it's not just there innately in them, right? And so if you ask them a question about a human history or something, and I mean, they don't necessarily care about human history the way we do. And so what they will likely do is scan the collective consciousness of human history of the world, and what did we just explain exists in that collective consciousness. It's what all the thoughts of people have gone into it, right? So the collective consciousness of human history is what humans have agreed is truth. Doesn't mean it's real truth. It's what humanity has agreed is the truth. That's the truth we're going with. Yep, that's the way it happened, right? So a guide will basically like scan the collective consciousness of human history, and what's going to hit first and what's going to highlight is boop, boop, boop. Okay, that's what humans are agreeing is true. That's what we're going to pull from. And they're going to give you that answer. Now, even if your guide can go, you guys are funny, like it didn't go down at all like that, they're not going to violate the free will of humanity. They won't violate the free will of the people by spilling the beans on the truth. Most of the time, they're just going to go with what humanity has agreed is the truth, because we have free will to believe what we want to believe. Does that make sense? I know it can be a lot to wrap your mind around, and you're like, but this is why, I'll reiterate this again, this is why it's so important for every single one of us on an individual basis to take responsibility for our own thoughts, words, actions, beliefs, stories. Because you are not only continually creating your own reality, but you are assisting in creating the reality of all it is. So before you say something, before you share something, before you give an opinion, before you have a thought and sit there and stew on that thought, check in with your gut. Like, is this true? Is this what I'm really feeling? Or is this really necessary? Type of thing. It's so important. We're creating all that is. whatever we convince people to agree with us on, and then they convince people to agree with them on, you're creating that critical mass that's going to create a tipping point that kicks into effect that 100th monkey effect. And pretty soon the whole world is believing like you. So we can use those powers for light or dark. If we convince other people that love should win, that love is all that matters, that we need to take care of each other, that we need to stop judging each other, that we need to take care of each other, pretty soon that's going to win. If we walk around selfishly talking about, other people don't matter and acting that way, unfortunately, that will also win if it reaches a critical mass. So let's make this world a better place. I find this topic fascinating and I think about it all the time. So I hope that you did too. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't yet, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Keep your vibes high and let love guide you. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time.